Good morning, friends. Thanks for being here today. You're with Journey Home Meditation, and this is the morning sit. I'm your host, sort of host, I guess, Michael. And I am happy to be here today. It's true. I am happy to be here. I've got something special that I'm going to be playing today in our sit together this morning. I've always been a deeply passionate consumer of poetry. Probably since I was a child. I remember once I plagiarized sections of Song of Solomon and took parts out of Whitman's Leaves of Grass when I was probably 10 years old, maybe 11, because I had a crush on a girl. Oh, and also it was that I went to a very Christian school, or a private school, for 2 years. They asked me not to return, but fifth and sixth grade, I was in this private school, and most of the kids were very sheltered from pop culture, and I was not. But I had a crush on this girl, and I would write her little letters with poems, and some of them were original poems, and then a lot of times I would plagiarize from different sources because I was 10. I think I was 10, and I wrote a poem once and included lines from Bon Jovi's "I'll Be There for You," sections from Song of Solomon, and snippets from Walt Whitman's Leaves of Grass. It was my introduction to Walt Whitman. I went to the library, and it was one of the few poetry books that the library had. And yeah, I gave her that. She was quite impressed. Of course, she was quite impressed. I mean, these are some of the greatest poets in history, right? So yeah, I was a very impressive thief of poems when I was 10. But I've always loved the effect that poetry can have. In part, it's the brevity, but also it's this feeling like you are in mid-conversation with divinity. Like you're jumping right into the middle of the conversation. I remember as a kid, whenever I had a chance to hear, adults engaging in intelligent conversation, I would be that kid that would sit in the background and just listen. Other kids wouldn't care. I'd go to my friend's house and they just wanted to play Nintendo or whatever. But I would always be that kid that would sit on the stairs in the hallway and listen to the adults talk. I loved the feeling of coming in mid-conversation and getting this snippet of somebody's life and somebody's passion and somebody's search. Really, it's about somebody's search. And I think that there's few forms of media that really personify the search as well as poetry. Poetry just seems to me to be the language of searching. And once I knew a person who he's a phenomenal poet. I mean, he was already a very gifted writer, right? and I would see him perform poetry at different places. And I saw him first time I saw him was in a film, and I eventually ended up moving to LA and met this person, and actually by happenstance lived in the same apartment complex as them. And so I got to see them read poetry a lot and experiment a little bit with their writing, and they were always amazing. But then this thing happened. I moved away from Los Angeles, and a couple of years later, maybe 3 years later, uh, my then wife Angela and I mean, still my wife Angela, but 3 years after I'd moved away from LA, then I met Angela down the line, and we married, and she loved poetry as well, and we drove up to Olympia, Washington from Portland and she was probably 6 months, 7 months pregnant, something like this. And we went up to see this person read poetry. This person's name is Saul Williams, and they were performing at Evergreen College. And so we drove up, and when I saw Saul, something was different. Something ineffable, something indescribable was different. They were glowing with this fierce quality that only a person stricken by poetry can really have. I mean, they really were on a divine course at that point. Something was elevated inside of their spirit that just exuded from every pore. And the poems they read that night were otherworldly. Oh, it was something else. It was something else. I feel tears even welling up right now, just remembering the sensation of being in the presence of that force that night. And Saul was talking about Sufi poets, and when he talked about Hafiz, he said, Hafiz is kind of talks about God the way that you would talk about, one of your best friends, and not in a always completely what we would call like sacred way, according to some like rules about how you would speak about God, but more like, he said, the phrase to use, he said, more like Hafiz is like, so I'm wrestling with God and I got him in a headlock, you know, kind of this intimate relationship with God, with divinity, with this deeper thing that poets have always been searching for, or many poets have always been searching for, this place. And then one of my favorite poets today is Andrea Gibson, and she was described on a podcast she was on. A person said that you know there was a belief in some cultures that you can't see God. You're not allowed to see God directly, but you can see where God just was. You can see God's footprints. And she said, when I read Andrea Gibson, it's like I'm seeing where God just was. And I agree with that. Like there is something powerfully uh, what would the word be? What's the feeling? I mean, there's a power, there's a feeling when you encounter this level of passion, and not just passion, but it is passion, but not just passion, not only passion, that you do feel like you are sitting in on a conversation directly with God. I feel like I'm that kid on the stairwell listening to the adults speak in the other room. And so this morning, I wanted to play this amazing clip. I met a cellist in the park in Ashland, Oregon, a few years ago, I guess. His name's Daniel Sperry. And I've been following Daniel, and he's got this pretty awesome project where he sort of has a virtual tip jar that goes to street performers around the world, around the country. And so you can kind of sponsor a street performer. I believe it came up during COVID. Um, but I follow him. I follow his videos, and I love what he creates in the world. And I've seen him perform both on stage and just in the park. And no matter where he is, Daniel is searching. Like you can see that he is in the midst of that poetic search with his music and just with his being. He's really a beautiful person, and he's been making these videos as of late, reading poems, and one of them is actually him reading Hafiz. And so I wanted to play this clip, and I got Daniel's permission to play this. So I'm just going to play it. This is a beautiful piece by Hafiz called Admit Something. Hafiz is a 14th century Persian Sufi poet from Iran, considered, in many circles to be one of the greatest poets of that era, but also maybe of all time. Just phenomenal poet. And this is Daniel Sperry. So enjoy.
Admit something. Everyone you see, you say to them, love me. Of course, you do not say this out loud. Otherwise, someone would call the cops. Still, though, think of this great pull in us to connect. Why not become the one who lives each day with a full moon in each eye that is always saying, with that sweet moon language, what every other eye in this world is dying to hear.
Wow. While I was getting that clip ready, I listened to that poem this morning, almost like a mantra. It was probably 10, 13 something times as I was trying to figure out how to play it on this program for everyone this morning. And I tell you, the power of mantra is that you can begin to lock yourself into a feeling beyond a thought. It's about going beyond a thought. And you can come into the full body sensations of not only the words, but the place that the words remind you of, right? We are always being reminded of the first time we felt a feeling. They say that once feelings and emotions are sort of carved into the the record of your soul, right? Your body's experience. You are replaying those with memory when you feel something. So when somebody makes you feel something, right? We use that term again, makes you feel. Uh, what's actually happening is you're having a memory of what you have felt before, and so you're connecting these things in some very subtle way to your first experiences. And mantra can really help with that in this very peculiar way where you start to shut off the senses, the external senses, and you become internalized, where you are living out your sense memories as a script, almost like the way that an actor would take on a role, but it's in this um, beautiful deeper place than the thought. It's a different place than thought. And so when I practice mantra meditation chanting, um, and I chant either the Maha Mantra or any mantra that I choose to chant, whether it's in Sanskrit or in Hebrew or in English or wherever this mantra is coming from, I'm able to slowly get through what I think I'm supposed to be doing into being completely enraptured in the moment of what I am doing. And this morning, playing that poem on repeat, it became similar to mantra, where I was entranced in the feeling of what it is to be dying to hear something, to be one of those eyes that is dying to hear something in the world. And then the option for that is to live to say that thing. That's the option, right? If we are experiencing the longing of the lack of something in the world, the whole world, then we obviously know what that thing is, and we know what the feeling of that thing is, and we have an ability to create a shape of that thing. We have an ability to create the sound of that thing. We can find the colors of that thing. We have the ability to bring into the world the thing that we are longing for so much that we are dying to hear it. And there is no rule that says that you can't be the one bringing that into the world, right? There's no rule today that says if you are struggling with feelings of acceptance that you cannot bring acceptance to the world. There's no rule that says you can't bring understanding, you can't bring patience. There's every opportunity we have to try to bring that element that we feel is lacking into the space that we're in. And oftentimes when I'm experiencing the feeling of being unheard, it's sometimes as I'm not listening. When I'm feeling unseen, it may be that I'm hiding. So I become seen and I start to see. I start to see others. I think of that as like when a child hides their face in the pillow so that the boogeyman won't see them, right? You cover your eyes so that you can't be seen. And that's kind of what we do in this world. Even as adults, we walk around the world covering our heart to protect it. And then we suffer the longing of disconnection from our heart space. And that is that connection, that pull that Hafiz talks about, that Daniel read in that poem. It is that pull for connection. That is human. That is human. That is the curriculum of being a human, in the words of Ram Dass. Follow the curriculum, you know. So this morning, listening to that mantra of a beautiful Sufi poem read so wonderfully and hypnotically by Daniel Sperry. Thanks, Daniel, for allowing me to play that this morning on the show. I appreciate you. It just brought to me the reminder that why not be the one who speaks in that beautiful moon language? And what is the moon except for this great teacher that shows us that even when we aren't full, when we don't arrive fully illumined, we're still there and we will return. And what a great teacher that is. What a great teacher that says, you don't have to be everything you think you should be to be in my presence. You can just be you as you. And I can just be me as me right now. And that's changing every day. And we can go through our shifts and our cycles and still wonder at its beauty. What a great teacher. So this morning, before I head out to try to bring exactly what it is I'm longing for into the world today, I just wanted to share a few moments of breath with everyone. So let's find our way into our meditation posture. And our meditation posture is simply that place of balance in our body. And the practice that we are sharing is a devotional practice to breath. That is all. Just a devotional practice to your own breath. So find a way to sit that facilitates that breath, that makes that breath easier and more gentle so that you can fully accept and fully release. So if you're seated in a chair, as I am, you can have your feet flat to the floor or legs crossed in any number of positions. If you're on the floor, have a pillow, a rug, or a mat beneath you. I always find that putting a small pillow underneath myself helps my spine to not be stressed and strained, my legs to relax in a more comfortable position, my hips to be able to release, and my knees to be protected just a bit more. So if you have the ability to have a pillow or a couple yoga blocks or a rolled up rug, something underneath your bum, it can be helpful. But as we move into this meditation posture, this asana of meditation, begin to bring your awareness to how the breath feels in the body. No special breathing techniques right now, just listen to the breath. Where's your breath going to? What is the texture of your breath? Is it short, stunted breaths? Is it long and slow? Feel the air moving into the body, becoming breath as you breathe in. And feel the body release as you breathe out. Breathe out completely. Breathe in gently. And breathe out completely. Breath is the mantra of the body. So find yourself entranced by the dependable repetition of your breath. As you shift to breathing in through the nose, right to the bottom of your belly. And releasing from the mouth. Gently bring the shoulder blades together in the back. Lay your palms facing upwards. This opens the chest and opens the heart. Stay with the awareness of the breath from the beginning of the breath all the way to the last moment of the breath moving out. Allow the emotional sensations to begin to come up, move through the body. Allow the thoughts to begin to take a seat in a comfortable way. Thoughts will happen. It's okay. And feel the physical sensations of the body, the subtle language of your body. Feel what it is to bring awareness to the bottom of your belly, or the sensation of your ribs gently accepting breath. A slight tension in the lower back as you fill your body. And the release. And of course, you can stay with this practice as long as you'd like this morning. But don't get stuck. It's a good place to visit, but don't get stuck. That's generally my guidance for anything. And when you're ready to come back into a different level of consciousness, just gently start to move your fingers and toes. Feel the sensation of movement in the body. And even if you open your eyes, or if you've had your eyes open this whole time, maintain a little bit of that awareness of you, who you truly are. And let that shine through those moon for eyes into the world today. Thanks for being here this morning with Journey Home Meditation for this morning, Sid. I really appreciate you all. If you'd like to reach out to me, you can email me at journeyhomemeditation@gmail.com. My name is Michael, and I've been very happy to share this space with you. I love you all, and it's nothing personal. Hari Om. Thanks again to Daniel Sperry for allowing us to use his work. You can find his website is danielaustensperry.com. Check it out and support an amazing artist who's on the search. So thanks again, and be well.